Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ma-Fma. So I'm going to be the first presenter for this topic. So today's topic is index number. So what is an index number? Index numbers help economists and others compare data over time in a simple, standard way. Instead of looking at raw numbers, which can be large and hard to compare, index numbers make it easier to see trends and measure change. So basically, index numbers are often used by economists to provide a standardized way of comparing values over time. So what do index numbers do? Index numbers do show the average changes in prices, quantities, or values for a group of items. So the formula for index number is very simple. Index equals to current period's figure over base period figure times by 100. That's simple, right? So let's take a look at the example. Illustration for price index. Page 81 on BBB's book. So the price of a cup of coffee was 40 cents in 2010 and 50 cents in 2011. Required using 2010 as a base year. Value 100. What is the price index number for 2011 and what does it mean? Solution. Price index for 2011 equals to 50 cents, the current period figure, over 40 cents, the base period figure, which is 2010, times by 100, we will get 125. This means that the price has risen by 25%. Now let's take a look at price indices and quantity indices. So what are price indices? Price indices, they measure changes in monetary value, for example, prices. Purpose of price indices is to show how prices have increased or decreased over time. For example, the consumer prices index CPI measure inflation, how much the cost of goods and services is rising. So CPI is not only used in United Kingdom, but it also used internationally. Malaysia also use CPI. If the price index increases, it means prices and cost of living are going up. So now let's take a look at quantity indices. Quantity indices are also called volume indices. What they measure? Changes in non-monetary value, such as amount, unit produced, or volume. Compared with the price indices, it is quite simple. The comparison we can see is that price indices it measure the monetary value, while quantity indices measure the non-monetary value. So the purpose of quantity indices is to show how production or users levels have changed over time, not the price, just the amount. For example, a production volume index could show how many cars a factory produces each year. For instance, I'm the factory car manager. Let's say this year I produce around 1,000 cars. For the next year, it doesn't always gonna be 1,000 cars I'm producing. It could be less, it could be more, it could be 1,100, it could be less, 900. So that's what it means. So at that time, we can calculate the quantity indices. We can compare it each year. So if the index increases, it means the factory is producing more, even if prices stay the same. So that's all from me.
Okay, now we take a look how to calculate price index. We have two types how to calculate price index, which is Laspeyres and Paasche. Laspeyres price index use base year quantities as weight and measure price change assuming fixed consumption patterns. And then Paasche price index, we use current year quantities weight and reflects actual change in consumer behavior. So we can take a look for quantities. Quantities we use base year, QO. O means base year and N means current year. Okay. For the purchase, we use QN. QN is quantity current year. That's why when we use current year, it reflects actual change in consumer. For the Laspeyres, we use QO. QO means it's fixed because it's on base. Okay. Next, we take a look for the example. Okay, for the example, we already have the answer. For Laspeyres, we got 144.2 and Paasche, we got 129.0. Okay. This, in other words, Laspeyres with average price, rise is 44.2% and Paasche with average price, rise is 29%.
Today we are going to learn about calculating quantity indices, which is divided into two, which is Laspeyres and Paasche quantity index. Okay, so why are we using calculating quantity indices? As you have learned in the previous chapter about the Laspeyres and Paasche pricing index. Okay, so now it's a quantity indices, which is a measurement changes in quantities and use price as weights. Okay, it's also to measure changes in national income. So basically the total that you get after you count it is known as national income. So let us take a look at Laspeyres quantity index. Okay, so the formula is sum of POQN over sum of POQO and times with 100. Okay, so in order for you to remember this short form, it's actually sum of price base year times quantity current year over sum of price base year times of quantity base year. Okay, so it's actually POQN over POQO. O stand for base year, meanwhile N stand for current year. Okay, so we will moving on to the Paasche quantity index. Okay, so Paasche quantity index, the formula is sum of PNQN over sum of PNQO. Okay, so it's actually Paasche quantity index, sum of price current year multiplied by quantity current year divided by price current year multiplied by quantity base year. So as for Laspeyres, you can remember it as on O, and for Paasche you can remember it as n no. Okay, it's actually no, and meanwhile for Laspeyres on O. Okay, so that's one of the way for you to remember it. Okay, so we will take a look at the example, which is I want you guys to take out your calculator and let's us calculate this together. Okay, so the question asks, a rose seller recorded the number of batches of different color roses they purchased in 2OS3 and 2OS4 and the average price paid per batch. Okay, so we're going to take 2OS3 as the base year and 2OS4 as the current year. Okay, so usually it will be given the which year will be the base year and which year will be the current year. Okay, so let us calculate it using the Laspeyres quantity index first. This is how you're gonna calculate it. Okay, so as for this one is for Laspeyres quantity index. Okay, so you're gonna take price base year, which is 28, and multiply it with quantity current year, so 28 multiplied by 85 as for here, and you're gonna do the same things for the whole color for the whole year. Okay, so for the above it, for the below it, which is you're gonna take the price base year and multiply it with quantity base year, which is price base year and quantity base year. So just do the same things and plus, and after that you need to divide and multiply by 100 and you're gonna get 76.32. Okay, so that's for Laspeyres. So for Paasche, you're gonna do the same thing, which is you're gonna take the price current year multiplied by quantity current year. Okay, so just do the same thing over and over. Okay, so as for the below it, you're gonna take the price for the current year and multiply it with the quantity base year. Okay, so price current year, quantity current year. Okay, do you see the relationship? So just do the same thing. This one multiply this one, just add on the all of the color and multiply by 100, you will get 77.96. Okay, so basically that's how you're gonna to calculate the quantity indices.
Next, let me explain the differences between the Laspeyres and Paasche price indices using a comparison. First, Laspeyres index. Laspeyres index use quantity from the base year, which is the old year. It assumes that even price go up, people still buy the same things in the same amount. Because of this, it often overstates inflation, and it makes it look like prices have gone up more than they really have. Next, Paasche index. Paasche index use the quantity from the current year. It reflects what people actually buy now after price have changed. Since it assumes people switch to cheaper alternative, it usually understates inflation, meaning it shows a smaller increase in price. To summarize, Laspeyres using a base year and overstate inflation, while Paasche using current year and understate inflation. Laspeyres is more easier to calculate and can compare across the year, while Paasche is more accurate but harder to work because quantity change each year. So each has its pros and cons depending on the situation. That's all from me. Thank you.